First Steps in the Higher Life, Step 8, from James Allen's book, Out from the Heart. My name is Steve Van Eiderstein, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. I'm extremely excited to be getting into this next part of the reading today. I apologize, I'm a day late on this post. Life got very busy yesterday, and unfortunately couldn't get to it. So I am looking forward to getting this done today and getting this out there because I really love the reading today, and I really enjoy the message of it. Now, we are starting the third lesson of 3 in the 10 in the steps James Allen provides us to actually start living in a spiritual way of life and higher living, as he calls it, right? So these are from the 5th chapter of that book, Out from the Heart by James Allen. And the first lesson consisted of 2 steps, and that was in disciplines of the body. It was indolence and self-indulgence, getting those under control. The next was the discipline of speech, and that was 5 lessons. It was slander, it was gossip, it was abusive and mean language. It was captiousness was the last one, and I can't remember the 4th one in there. Slander, gossip. Oh no, you're gonna make me look at it. Levity was number 4, and so there was 5 steps there. So that was the first 7, and now we are on step 8, which is the first step in the 3rd lesson. So he took 10 steps, split them into 3 lessons. Okay, so this is the first step of the 3rd lesson and first of 3. So it is the discipline of inclination, and it is. It's about how we should be, right? The first ones are like stopping behaviors and replacing them with healthy behaviors, right? So it's much more granular or specific, right? These are more principles to live by, and this is where we learn about virtues and the practice of those virtues and how to be. So it's a really cool progression that he's going through, and I do want to say we're skipping a chunk of the reading because this is primarily just focused on the steps themselves. So there was a good amount of reading here explaining why the first 7 steps were necessary and how the discipline of the body and speech helps discipline the mind. And when you have a disciplined mind, then the rest of the virtues can take place. So when you have to be working on these first 7 steps before you can work on these last 3 steps. And you need to be working on all of these before you can get even higher virtues, is what he talks about in this thing. So it reminded me of a Satan that I find very useful or something I found very beneficial to my spiritual journey, to my recovery. And it was, we have to make space for truth and love and God, which means we have to act correctly first. We have to act virtuously and principled first, and then we make space for the God of our understanding to come into it. So it was a lot of good reading, and it was talking about getting the fundamentals down before you get the advanced techniques. And it's sometimes a reminder we need, because we want to jump into this progressive, we want to have 10 years of a spiritual journey in 10 days, as they'd say in the rooms. And this is not how it works. We got to put the footwork in. We have to do the basics before we can start the rest. So I'm looking forward to really getting into this. And this is the 8th step again. And this is titled The Unselfish Performance of Duty. So I will be reading out of this copy from the from the early 1900s, probably between 1910 and 1920-ish. And then you can also buy this copy right here. This is a mass market reproduction. They can get on Amazon. That's pretty good. It did have at least one spelling or at least one word replacement in it, which is always concerning to me, but overall pretty good. So here we go. This is step 8 from the chapter, First Steps in the Higher Life in James Allen's book, Out from the Heart. And now we come to the third lesson in the higher life, which consists in practicing and mastering in one's daily life 3 great fundamental virtues. 1. Unselfish performance of duty. 2. Unswerving rectitude. 3. Unlimited forgiveness. Having prepared the mind by overcoming the more surface and chaotic conditions mentioned in the first 2 lessons, the striver after virtue and truth is now ready to enter upon greater and more difficult tasks, and to control and purify deeper motives of the heart. With the right performance of duty, the higher virtues, without the right performance of duty, the higher virtues cannot be known, and truth cannot be apprehended. Duty is generally regarded as an irksome labor, a compulsory something which must be toiled through or be in some way circumvented. This way of regarding duty proceeds from a selfish condition of mind and a wrong understanding of life. All duty should be regarded as sacred, and its faithful and unselfish performance one of the leading rules of conduct. All personal and selfish considerations should be extracted and cast away from the doing of one's duty. And when this is done, duty ceases to be irksome and becomes joyful. Duty is only irksome to him who craves some selfish enjoyment or benefit for himself. Let the man who is chafing under the irksomeness of his duty look to himself, and he will find that his wearisomeness proceeds not from duty itself, but from the selfish desire to escape it. He who neglects duty, be it great or small, or of a public or private nature, neglects virtue. He who in his heart rebels against duty, rebels against virtue. When duty has become a thing of love, and when every particular duty is done accurately, faithfully, and dispassionately, there is much subtle selfishness removed from the heart, and a great step is taken towards the heights of truth. The virtuous man concentrates his mind on the perfect doing of his own duty, and does not interfere with the duty of another. And there we go. That is the next lesson. And that is I absolutely love that reading. Well, I love it now. I didn't always love it, to be completely honest with you. When I read that the first time, it was, I had so many problems with it, and I'll actually be talking about that as we go through this. So, I do want to point out, no, but did use circumvented. For some reason, I thought it used a different word in this one. When it said in some way circumvented, I thought it said some way avoided. So, but either way, so there we go. That is the reading of the 8th step, the unselfish performance of duty. And now I don't know about you, but when I read that, when I heard that, yeah, it resonated with me. It's resonated with me every single time I've read it, and I have a more deeper application of it now. I have a more deeper understanding of it. I see how it's applicable in so many different ways. And I really love this reading now, like I said, but that wasn't always my first reaction to this. So let's go ahead and we'll break it apart. Let's dive into this. So the first part is just kind of a general summation of the next 3 steps. And it was the lesson, but it also gave us the reason for the lesson. It said to control and purify the deeper motives of the heart. Now, remember, the whole entire book is called Out from the Heart. So, and what James Allen constantly reiterates, and a theme of his is our words and our actions are just an external display of what's in our mind, and our mind is operating only because of what we have in our heart. Like, it thinks about selfish things because we have selfishness in our heart. It will think about loving things and kind things when we have love and kindness in our heart, right? So the purification of the heart is actually the end goal of all of this. This isn't just to be more diligent. This is, or to have a better nutritional routine or something like that, right? Or just to get a better control of your tongue. Like that's the starting point. We're trying to go through the steps to stop actions, correct the mind, purify the heart. That's the process we're trying to go through here. And that he's just reiterating that. So this is the main aim of this last lesson, is to start to elevate the things we have in our heart, to point them in a different direction, to strive for better. So now let's get to the actual lesson of this 8th step here. And he says, without the right performance of duty, the higher virtues cannot be known and truth cannot be apprehended. So he's stressing the vital importance of this right out the gate. And he's the higher virtues cannot be known, right? And that's a little unnerving. So if we want to continue to grow, if we want to continue to spiritually progress, if we want to know truth, if we want to know love, if we want to build that relationship with the God of our understanding, then this is one that's really, really essential to this. And he doesn't just say the without the performance of duty. It's the right performance of duty. Now, remember, you can take an action with the wrong purpose in your heart, right? Or take an action poorly, even, right? But when you can do the right thing for the wrong reason, and you can do the right thing for the right reason, and the actions might be the same, but the substance of it is different, and where it's coming from within you is much different and has an impact in a different way, right? So right performance of duty is stressed here. Not just getting it done, not just sulking through it, not trying to just check boxes. We're right performance of duty. Very important thing he's stressing here. And we have to do the right things for the right reasons. That's what we're progressing towards and what we're trying to do. So and then he talks about how this is kind of a gateway, right? This is a gateway to further virtues. This is a gateway to further knowledge, to truth. And we can't actually apprehend truth until we practice this step and we implement this principle and this virtue in our daily lives, right? This is something that is this is the door which we have to walk through to actually be able to move forward in our living and our understanding, right? So it's kind of important. Sets us up for success. It sets us up to be able to more fully embrace principles and virtues and knowledge and truth as it reveals itself to us. So, first line in this one is just crucially important. We go on to next, where he says, duty is generally regarded as an irksome labor, a compulsory something which must be toiled through or in some way circumvented. Now, I don't know about you, but that's pretty much the description everybody gives of duty. I know that's a pretty broad brushstroke, but many people, it's just something you have to do. It's I hate my job. I don't want to do this. I dislike this portion of my job. It's all, every day's a struggle, right? I'm always putting in so much effort, and I so many complaints, so many just irksome statements, right? That duty is generally regarded as irksome labor. It seems to be accurate, and it's still accurate. Again, this was written over 100 years ago, so these words they resonate still in a very deep way, in a very real way. So, and then he talks about it being compulsory, something which must be toiled through. Like, you're not supposed to enjoy it. It's supposed to be strenuous. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be painful. It's supposed to be an inconvenience. It's supposed to be all of these things, right? And we just got to suffer well. We have to just get through it. And then once we suffer through that, guess what? We'll go spend all the money we've just made from suffering through work on things we don't need to make us feel better right now in a moment. That's what we use to justify it, right? This is a common plight. This is a common complaint. This is a common perspective many people take. You just shut up and you grind. Just do it. It's terrible, right? Or just people want to avoid it. Just outright avoid it. I've seen people put more effort into avoiding doing the work than the effort required to do the work itself, right? It's insane behavior, but people are so avoidant of actual doing their duty, whatever duty that might be, that they actually expend more energy avoiding it, to get around it, to get someone else to do it for them. It's quite insane to actually take a look at what we put ourselves through, right? So just this perspective, this understanding that he's highlighting here, he's setting it up for us to say, hey, if you think like this, there's going to be a problem, right? And if you hate your job, or if you despise your duties, and we're irritated, we're annoyed, we have resentments, we have a desperate need to avoid, right? This is an issue. This is an issue. And it's duty in general, too. And that can include a lot of things like family. Some people don't like doing their duties to their family. Right? Is this true for you? Do you hate your job? Do you hate coming home and having responsibilities? Is this bringing something to mind for you? Because you got to ask those honest questions, guys. If you don't, you're going to miss an opportunity. You're going to miss an opportunity to grow. Do you feel like you're just being forced to do something we would prefer not to, right? Do you feel like this is a something we don't have a choice in, something we are obligated to, and our ego is, and our stubbornness and our obstinacy is just flaring up, and it's just like, if it's not my choice to do it, then I don't want to do it, and we just try to shirk their responsibilities, shirk our duties. And like I said, this can apply to many, many things. This isn't just work. Work is the most commonly the work is the most commonly associated thing to something, or to duty when we say it. But we're not just talking about your job duties. We're talking about your duty to your community. We're talking about duty to your family, right? There's a lot of responsibilities and duties we avoid, and it's not good. Now, why do we do this? Why do we do this? It's a good question, right? Of course, James Allen gives us some descriptions here. This way of regarding duty proceeds from a selfish condition of mind and a wrong understanding of life. So here we go. Our selfishness is getting in the way, and our self-centeredness is getting in the way again and causing us problems, right? This is the common theme throughout every single behavior. Human beings in general are extremely selfish people. And we've established beliefs and perspectives based on selfishness and self-centeredness, and then we just leave them there. We never let those beliefs go. We don't mature in those ways. We just leave it. We don't grow with them, So we have these selfish ideas and beliefs and self-centered ideas and beliefs, and we just think that's how it goes, and we think that's what we need to be doing. So it's our perspective on things that is wrong that he's talking about here, from a selfish condition of mind and a wrong understanding of life. So your perspective is wrong. And James Allen's setting us up to see a new perspective on duty. And probably in life in general, honestly, from the second half of that sentence. Which makes sense, because when you have a selfish perspective on duty, I mean, that means your root perspective is selfish, is self-centered, right? You are egotistically inclined, right? You are an egomaniac, as some rooms might uh, say. And that's a problem. And this repulsion towards duty is because of that selfishness and self-centeredness, right? He's pretty definitive and straightforward about this and saying flatly a wrong understanding of life. He doesn't say, well, maybe it's a little skewed. He doesn't say you could take a different way. That's also correct. He's saying, no, you think wrong. That's one thing I love about James Allen. He doesn't mince words that much. Or I don't think he does at all, actually. He's very straightforward. He's to the point. And he wants to let you know exactly what's the problem. And he wants to articulate it in the most efficient and effective way and most understandable way. This isn't, hey, maybe we'll sugarcoat it and we'll take the long way around. He's just blatant with it. And he says, you have a wrong understanding of life if this is your perspective towards duty. And this is, I want to expand a little bit about my personal experience with this line, because this is kind of bringing this, it's really my personal experience with this entire step, because the first time I read this was a very long time ago, 6, 7, maybe even 8 years, 7 years ago probably, and I read this and I just remember being so angry at this. How could you tell me that it was I was being selfish? How's that possible? I really rejected it at first. But what was weird, I was slightly encouraged because me fulfilling my duty, the way I thought about duty, actually caused me a lot of pain and misery in my own head because I just resented it so, and I wanted to avoid it so much, So my ego was offended because there was no way that I was just selfish. Then the spiritual side of me, I'd say, the more realistic side of me said, well, maybe this can help. But that wasn't the first thought. It was definitely something that was underneath the anger. That wasn't what I heard first. So this step challenged the way I thought about duty. It challenged every belief I had about duty and work and responsibility, and really forced me to take a look at my life and my worldview. Because James Allen just said it. I must have a wrong understanding of life. If what he's saying is true, I have a wrong understanding of life. So it's not just duty I'm screwing up. It is everything. So now let's go to the change. What are we supposed to regard duty as? How are we supposed to view our duties? And Allen says, all duty should be regarded as sacred, and its faithful and unselfish performance one of the leading rules of conduct. Sacred, and it should be performed unselfishly and faithfully. I shouldn't have someone micromanaging me to make sure I get my work done because I avoid it so much. I shouldn't have to make up excuses all the time. You mean I should just faithfully and unselfishly perform the duties that are that I've accepted as my responsibility, or has been given to me as my responsibility? That was new. And this should be a leading rule of conduct. I should conduct myself like this all the time, not just at work, not just at home, everywhere. With everybody I meet, I should have an unselfish performance of duty and a faithful performance of duty and regard it as sacred, to respect the opportunity to do so. Remember, again, I want to reinforce this. Duty is not just work. It's defined as something you are obligated to do. And this means your family obligation. This means that following the laws of your city and state and federal law and county, right? Like to pay your taxes, whatever it is, we have duties. We have obligations, right? And all of those should be done unselfishly and faithfully. And we should regard it as sacred. Now, I don't know about you, but like, I don't want to give away my money to the government. I don't want to follow every speed limit. I don't want to accept every responsibility that's been handed to me as sacred. I don't. I do a lot better with it today, though. I do a lot better with seeing things as opportunities. And this is a concept that's been talked about a lot today, not today, but just in general, in this season of society, I guess is the best way to say it. Duty can be accepted as responsibility to invite in rather than to view as burdensome. It is not something that needs to be dreaded or avoided. Duty is just what it is. You have these obligations. Now, how I view those obligations is purely within my control. Should I view it as a sacred responsibility? Should I view it as something I have the opportunity to participate in? And now I know that might sound weird because, well, I don't want to help someone else make money. I'm not making. We all have a list of excuses and resentments as to why we don't want to actually do this. But the reality of it is, if we don't change it, we will constantly be miserable. If we don't change it, we will constantly be controlled by this obligatory duty that we've accepted or that we participate in. And the only reason it's painful is because we view it that way. So if we accept our duties as responsibility and we perform them faithfully and unselfishly, guess what? Everything changes. Guess what? Your resentment dissipates and they're not burdensome inconveniences anymore. The things you invite to do. You invite into your life to fulfill. And then if you bring this in all that you do, right? I talk about a service orientation a lot, like to be of service, genuine service to other people. And this means of service to your coworkers, to your boss, to the company that's employing you, to your community, to anybody that you meet in the street. That's what this is talking about. This is an aspect of that. To be of service, to perform faithful and unselfish performance of duty to each other is what this is talking about. And we can accept that as a personal responsibility, and we can let that shape our conduct. We can let that shape our character. It says something about your character when you operate in this way. It's an unselfish way to live, which we have a hard time with. It is a huge change in perspective. And Alan expands upon it. He says, all personal and selfish considerations should be extracted and cast away from the doing of one's duty. And when this is done, duty ceases to be irksome and becomes joyful. Ceases to be irksome and becomes joyful. You're telling me I can enjoy my duties. You're telling me that I can enjoy my work. You're telling me that I don't have to be upset every single day about something that I have to do. That was a novel idea to me. That concept did not even strike me as a reality, if I'm completely honest with you. And now I absolutely love this idea, this concept. Like, hey, you have the power, you have the response, you have the opportunity to decide how you want to think about something, right? I absolutely love this. When I first read it, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. How it was so hard for me to wrap my mind around this. I really thought that everyone hated their job. I really thought that everyone despised what they did. I thought everyone had tried to avoid duties and responsibilities. I thought the idea of seeing duty as something to be enjoyed was impossible. Because, like he said there, I am selfish and self-centered. So if my duty is not something that I want to do, I will view it as an impediment to my way of living. If my duty is not something that gives me joy or whatever, it gives me, well, actually, we'll talk about that in just a second. That's the next part of this. But if it is not something that I believe is selfishly serves me in any way I find acceptable, besides the fact if it's work, it makes me money, but that doesn't mean I enjoy what I'm doing when I'm going through it. I enjoy the paycheck then, not the actual duty itself. That makes for miserable days. That means you get one positive day, and that's whenever you get paid, and that's so fleeting that it's not even worth it. I didn't know it was actually possible to choose to think differently about that. You can have the exact same job and within a single thought, enjoy it more and have more joy in your life, to have more freedom in your life, to have more kindness and compassion and understanding and more peace. To think that I am just being selfish and that's why I was miserable was initially that was insulting. Like, how dare you? I'm not selfish. This job just sucks. Right? But it turns out some people enjoyed the job I did. Right? Like, you could put someone else in the exact position I was in and they might enjoy it. So what does that actually mean? It's not the job that sucks. It's not the work that's the problem. It's the way I think about it. It is a me issue. That is the problem. And we like to say, well, the only people that enjoy their duties, especially their work, are those who have their dream job and it's absolutely perfect for them and this, that, the other thing. And these are the excuses we tell ourselves. These are the reasons we tell ourselves, like, hey, it's just not what I want to do. Not what I want to do. It's all about me and what I want. And you aren't giving me the perfect dream job that I've always aspired to have for myself. So I'm suffering here with you. How can I enjoy this? Gosh, we are a miserable species sometimes. But we also have the ability to change that misery. We have the ability to change that perspective. And Alan explains it this way: duty is only irksome to him who craves some selfish enjoyment or benefit for himself. Let the man who is chafing under the irksomeness of his duty look to himself, and he will find that his wearisomeness proceeds not from the duty itself, but from his selfish desire to escape it. I despise that line. Oh my gosh. I know I'm talking a lot of personal things on this one, but I hated that. I hated that. That challenged my ego. That challenged my perspective. That invalidated my worldview. If that were true, that invalidated my worldview. And now I say, thank God it is true. And thank God it did invalidate my worldview, because I had to take a different perspective on things. And my life has gotten significantly better because of that, right? I despised these lines because they were true. Like so many. I despised them because when I heard that truth, it means I had to change. And I couldn't unhear that truth either. That was another thing. There's nothing you can really argue with when it comes to these. When it comes to that statement right there, if you're not enjoying, or if you are irksome, I love that he used that word, towards your duty, it's because you want it to be fun. It's because you want to get something out of it. It's because you're not, the actual performance of your duty does not benefit you in that immediate moment. So you do not enjoy it, and you want it to be exciting, or you want it to be this, or you have some selfish desire for the duty to give you something in the immediacy of the performance of it. And when that doesn't happen, we just get miserable and we want to escape it. And that was just so true for me. God, it was so true for me. This truth hit me very, very hard. And after it sunk in, I really couldn't deny it. It didn't sink in immediately. It took a little bit of time and reiteration and a willingness to entertain, because like I said, I couldn't argue with it. And after I realized it was true, I realized that this was just another instance of me making myself miserable again. I seem to be my own worst enemy. I mean, that's a common statement said today, but it's been true for me. I've made up a lot of miserable situations in my head. I've taken a lot of miserable perspectives that have caused me to suffer, caused me emotional pain, just completely fabricated and untruthful. I wanted my responsibilities to be different. I wanted to find joy and excitement. I wanted to avoid aspects of my duty. And I wanted I wanted reality to be different than it was. I wanted reality to serve me. I wanted the world to serve me. And I didn't understand it when other people could do the same thing, or other people had what I would perceive as a worse job than me, and they were happier. That would make me most miserable, because it just highlighted that I was the problem. This is where a lot of people have an issue, and they start blaming the job, or they blame other people, or they blame their boss, or they blame the type of work, or they blame the economy, they blame this, they blame that, and they start resenting people, and they start resenting a company, and they start to feel wronged, and they start to feel that they just got to go find this unicorn of a job that's going to fit their desires perfectly, and then they'll finally be happy. And this makes us so miserable and puts our happiness outside of us. This puts our joy and our peace of mind outside of us. It makes it so we have to go and obtain it externally, when in reality, it's right there for the taking if we just would change the way we think about something. We give our happiness away. We give our joy away. We give our peace of mind away. Because we demand that the world change. Then we get miserable and we say, what's the point? It's never going to be different. Then we sit in a dead-end job, or we sit in this miserable place that no one wants to be around us. We just get desperate and hopeless. And God, that place is painful. I've been there. I've sat there for years. I've sat there. And I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. But when I accepted this as truth, that changes everything and gave me back the power to own my own happiness, my joy, my peace of mind. Because I could switch perspectives, because I could invite my current responsibilities in and take them on willingly instead of rejecting them because they weren't exciting enough. Or they didn't serve me in some way. I didn't know how vulnerable I was making myself to these things. I didn't understand how it was all on me. And then Alan highlights this next piece, which I think is very, very important. He who neglects duty, be it great or small, or of a public or private nature, neglects virtue. He who in his heart rebels against duty, rebels against virtue. That's another difficult truth to swallow, but it is most certainly true. And I'm sure there's many more intricate and philosophically appropriate ways to justify that statement, to justify that principle, to justify that understanding as truth and an honest and accurate. But the only thing I need to understand about that is to neglect or rebel against duty is selfish. And selfishness will always be unvirtuous and stand in the way of our own personal growth. To reject, rebel, to avoid our duty is always selfish and self-centered. And you cannot be virtuous. You cannot be righteous. You cannot be Christ-like character. You cannot be of service and of love when you are being selfish. And so that's the only thing I need to understand to actually know that this is true. So to reject or avoid or rebel against duty is to rebel against virtue, and is not a path I want to go on. The selfishness required to reject duty is, we don't even realize that's what it actually is most of the time, is unavoidable. If you are intentionally avoiding your duties and responsibilities, you are just purely being selfish. 100%. It can never facilitate virtuous conduct, which I know people won't want to hear, but it is true. And then, of course, Alan always gives us a full picture of how to virtuously conduct ourselves, and I love this. When duty has become a thing of love, and when every particular duty is done accurately, faithfully, and dispassionately, there is much subtle selfishness removed from the heart, and a great step is taken towards the heights of truth. So, when there are obligatory duties that we have to do and we have to execute on and we have to complete, we need to do them accurately. We need to do them faithfully. We need to do them dispassionately, right? We need to be of service to whatever entity is bestowing those duties upon us. We need to invite those duties in as a responsibility we are willing to take on and we want to take on. To act from a loving heart instead of a fearful and selfish heart is what we are trying to cultivate here. The invitation of responsibility instead of the rejection of a perceived burden is the difference between love and fear, between service and selfishness. We're required to put care into the things we do, urgency into the things we do, and be present. You know, Alan used the word dispassionately, which when you look it up in an older dictionary means calm, peacefully. So not with resentment, not with anger, not with hate, not with frustration or irritation. We are to perform our duties calmly and to be present in the moment. And when we are careful, urgent, and calm, it manifests as those accurate, faithful, and dispassionate. The loving heart, the service-oriented heart, comes out through the actions, right? And I love that he says, like, when we strive for this ideal, when we do our best to act in these ways, this subtle selfishness just gets removed. These what I'll call demands on the world suddenly dissipate. And we stop having these expectations of what it needs to be for us. And we just find that we can give of ourselves to it. What an amazing thing that is. What an amazing thing that is. We become content with our duties instead of resentful. And then this leads us to uncover other truths. This, like we said at the beginning of this lesson, this is a gateway. This is a doorway into higher truths, to more virtuous understanding, to a more clear connection with a God of our understanding, to deepen our spiritual connection, to walk further down that spiritual path, that narrowing path, some might say. And it frees us from these selfish and self-centered bonds we've shackled ourselves with. When we shift our perspective and we embrace this unselfish performance of duty, the selfish shackles just fall away. We get a new freedom to experience the world with. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then the last line of this, I really love. He says, the virtuous man concentrates his mind on the perfect doing of his own duty and does not interfere with the duty of another. Okay. The virtuous man concentrates his mind on the perfect doing of his own duty and does not interfere with the duty of another. I love this. We love to just distract ourselves, right? So what he's really saying is mind your own business. He put this at the end of this step on purpose, because what we like to do is we'll compare ourselves to the next person. We'll compare ourselves to other people and we'll say, well, I'm doing better than them, so that's good enough. Or they aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Let me selfishly try to dictate their behavior and how they're supposed to do this. Let me make myself feel better so I can judge by judging them and saying, hey, I'm better than you at this, or you're doing this wrong. Let me stand on this spiritual self-righteous soapbox. He says, don't do that. What we need to focus on is ourselves and our own duty and how we perform that duty. That's it. Buck stops there. Don't look at your neighbor and say you should be doing better. You do better. I need to do better. Mind your duties and perform them unselfishly and faithfully with, how did he say, with accuracy, with faith, and dispassionately with a peace of mind. Your responsibility is yours, and their responsibility is theirs. Do your duty lovingly, and the rest will work itself out. So there we go. That's the first step of the third lesson there. First of 3 steps in this third lesson. And this freed me from so many things. Let me tell you, this freed me from so many things. But I hated it in the beginning. So if you heard this episode and you were like, this is ridiculous and untrue, then this episode was meant for you. And I can tell you this, if you're willing to even entertain this lesson and this step as true and virtuous and let it settle in a little bit, you'll find freedom that you didn't know was possible. So I'm looking forward to the next lesson next week. So thank you all so much. And next week we'll be talking about unswerving rectitude. So until next time, thanks.